Welcome to Breaking News on Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We're going to be covering the Harmony Montgomery press conference. It just got underway just a short period of time ago, but we're going to bring it to you right here. It's on a small delay. Can't really show it to you at live as it's playing, but this is going to be, according to the YouTube rules and regulations, this is how it's going to do it. Ed, how you doing?
Good, Ron. Good. How you doing?
Good. We've been covering this thing closely, so I want the viewers to get our perspective at the end of this press conference, because I'm sure there'll be quite a few questions. So we're going to just play this for the viewers. Hopefully it doesn't go on a long time. Josh, if you can cue it up, and then Ed and I will come back with some commentary afterwards.
Good afternoon. I'm Attorney General John Formella, and I'm joined today by Manchester Police Chief Alan Aldenberg. We're here today to provide an update regarding the ongoing investigation into the 2019 disappearance of Harmony Montgomery. Back in January, we announced that then 5-year-old Harmony likely disappeared sometime between November 28th and December 10th of 2019. Since that announcement, members of my office, members of the Manchester Police Department, the U.S. Marshals Service, the FBI, and other law enforcement partners have been diligently continuing to work this case. In total, these agencies working together have devoted thousands of hours gathering evidence and pursuing numerous leads. All of these efforts have led us to conclude that Harmony Montgomery was murdered in Manchester in early December of 2019. At this point, while Harmony's remains have not yet been located, we do have multiple sources of investigative information, including just recently confirmed biological evidence that have led us to this difficult and tragic conclusion.
Ed, can you mute your mic?
I'm announcing that this is now officially a homicide investigation, and that our investigators will continue to seek justice and look into the circumstances of Harmony's murder and search for her remains. We understand that this is truly devastating news for Harmony's family, friends, and loved ones, and our hearts go out to them. This is also devastating news for the city of Manchester, for our state, and all who have followed this story. Our work now turns to getting justice for Harmony and all those who loved her. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Manchester Police Chief Alan Aldenberg, but before I do, I just want to acknowledge the tireless work that the Manchester Police Department has put into this difficult and truly heartbreaking case. We have much work left to do, but I think everyone would join me in thanking the chief and his team for their efforts thus far. I also want to acknowledge the work of Senior Assistant Attorney General Jesse O'Neill from my office, who is here today. He's worked closely with Chief Aldenberg, the Manchester Police Department, and all of our law enforcement partners in this investigation. And there is much work left to come. Chief.
Thank you, General. Good afternoon. As the Chief of Police for the City of Manchester, I'm beyond saddened that we stand here today to announce that the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery is now officially a homicide investigation. As I stated from the beginning of this investigation and throughout, every effort has been made to bring Harmony home to her family. Our commitment to bringing Harmony home has not wavered, nor will it. Bringing Harmony home will continue to be the #1 priority of the Manchester Police Department. I want to take a moment to publicly thank the Manchester Police Department detectives and New Hampshire Attorney General's office for their steadfast commitment and dedication to this investigation. There have been many detectives assigned to this investigation, and I'm grateful to all of them. But I want to specifically recognize Captain Sean Layton, Captain Matt LaRochelle, Sergeant Jamie Cavari, who could not be here today, Detective Jack Dunleavy, Detective Scott Riley, and Detective Max Rahill, as well as Deputy U.S. Marshal Billy Tufts, who's here as well. I thank all of them for their tireless work thus far in this investigation. I am grateful for the compassion and dedication that they've given to this investigation over the past 8 months. They've experienced many ups and downs, many moments of frustration and sadness along the way, but they have remained focused and remained undeterred as they enter the next phase of this investigation. I feel it's important to recognize these true professionals, as their job is an extremely difficult one. It is even more difficult when investigating the homicide of a sweet and innocent 8-year-old girl. It is equally important for me to recognize the professionalism and commitment of Senior Assistant Attorney General Jesse O'Neill. Attorney O'Neill has been part of this investigation from day one, and he has not wavered one bit. I am personally grateful to Attorney O'Neill for the guidance and counsel he has provided me along the way. He is a consummate professional, and the state of New Hampshire should be thankful for having such an individual seeking justice for Harmony. So thank you, Jesse. It's not often that a public official takes a moment to thank the media, but I feel it's important to do so. I specifically want to extend my gratitude to WMUR and Fox Boston for continuously keeping Harmony's story at the forefront. Both outlets and many others did so with compassion and professionalism, and for that I say thank you. I know that over the past 8 months that there have been many discussions, speculation, and questions relative to where the system failed Harmony. And I myself continue to share the same concerns and still have many remaining questions. However, the homicide of this little girl rests with the person or persons who committed this horrific act. The Manchester Police Department will do everything within the limits of the law to ensure that the responsible person or persons for the murder of Harmony are brought to justice. As always, I encourage members of the public to continue to use the dedicated tip line should they have any information at all that would assist us in locating Harmony or any information that they feel is relevant to this investigation. The dedicated tip line has, the dedicated tip line number is 603-203-6060. Again, that number is 603-203-6060. As I said from the beginning, I maintain the stance that there are people out there in the community that have information about this investigation who have yet to come forward. If you are that person, pay attention to me carefully. If you are that person, I implore you to do so now and come forward. I'm not asking you to do it for me, for the people in this room, the people that have been working this investigation. Do it for this little girl who's on the screen. The time is now. Time to step up and do the right thing. Make the call to that tip line or contact the Manchester Police Department any way you see fit. Harmony is a sweet and innocent child who deserves to be brought home to her family and friends. Thank you. General?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you again to your department, your team, and all of our law enforcement partners for their assistance in this investigation. Before we close, I just want to take one more opportunity to express my deepest sympathies to Harmony's family, friends, and loved ones. But cases like this that involve young children and young girls like this are especially difficult. We have a lot of work ahead.
All right, we seem to be having just a tad bit of technical difficulty, but he is closing here. I think we heard enough, Josh. You could take it off. All right. Yeah, so we heard enough. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. Not a big deal. We covered, that was 3/4, maybe even more. I think he was closing in that statement. I'll pick it up and go and listen to the back. We'll pick it up at the back end of it. Ed, any thoughts? I want to go to you right away because you and I covered this thing extensively. You looked at the, all the forensics and the bags and all the things that they were taking out. Any thoughts on it, Ed?
Well, he said they recovered biological evidence. Now, that could be a whole slew of different types of evidence. Did they recover remains? Is it blood? Is it something that yielded a genetic profile? Did it come from the search warrant at that residence? We don't know. So I'd like to see at the end of that press conference if he took questions and if anybody asked I don't think he would tip his hand exactly what it is, but he did say biological evidence. So I'm assuming they got a genetic profile, they got some blood, some tissue, or whatever the case may be, enough that it would make them believe this is a homicide.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, we saw what happened in the earlier, the first search that they did when they used the blanket warmers or whatever that was to warm to thaw out the ground. They had that expensive process that they were doing. They told us that there was nothing recovered from that location. That was her former home that she resided in. And then we were all left just holding the bag. And then, a great deal of time later, fast forward to 2 months ago or so, we had the apartment complex that they searched. And I have to, if I was a guessing man, I'd have to say that the evidence was taken out that day, and this is the result of a press conference.
Didn't they have a press conference sometime after it saying that the apartment search yielded nothing? Somehow I recall hearing that.
I do, but maybe it was probably, I'm just thinking, and I'm just trying to think ahead of this thing, is maybe at the time they didn't have all the results back, which would be not really indicative of what professional law enforcement would do.
Or
so
maybe,
I'm really scratching my head on that.
Maybe it did yield something, but then they recalled that whatever it didn't lead to an arrest.
Right. So now that's the thing, is everybody's going to be saying now, who are they looking at? Are they still looking at Harmony Montgomery's dad? Are they looking at Adam? Are they looking at the stepmom? Is this thing going to expand out? And that's what opens this thing up to more questions and conversations that will be happening out there on the line.
Well, the key is, where did they find the evidence, and who had access to that location? Legitimate access. Were the parents had legitimate access to it? Was it a vehicle that belonged to the parents or one of the parents? Or wherever they found that evidence, and what was the association with Harmony and her parents, or anybody else, if for that matter, a relative of Harmony. Okay. And then there's going to be a linkage association.
So Josh just sent me a private chat in the private group. He said there was no Q&A at the end of it. He just closed the book and walked off. He basically just sent, prayers to the family. I wanted to ask you, Ed, it's not really common practice or commonplace for us to see all the time. It happens, but it's not often we see a police chief. And we just saw the police chief over in Manchester exhibit, and he did this all along this whole case, a lot of emotion. And that's a testament to how connected we as investigators get to these cases when it involves a child or someone who can't fend for themselves, the elderly, somebody that may be mentally or physically handicapped. It's just, I feel it's a good look for our audience and the people outside the country and people watching this, that law enforcement and the folks who do this job, they have feelings, they have hearts, they have emotions, and he's not holding back. It sounded like he was about to cry at one point when he mentioned her name.
We're humans. We come from the same society that the rest of us live in. I mean, we come from the same communities. So yes, it's going to impact us, and there would be something wrong with us if it didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Really, there would be something mentally wrong with us if these things did not impact us. Okay.
Right.
And again, we've all given a backpack to carry, and we can only carry so much weight in that backpack before we need assistance. And when it comes to things like these kind of traumas, there's nothing wrong with seeking help to deal with the horrific things that we've dealt with in our law enforcement careers.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on that. We look at DCYF in the state of New Hampshire and also Massachusetts. I hate to point fingers and go back, and we covered this thing so extensively. There's a playlist that I will link in one of the cards up in the top of the videos here. But we have a Harmony Montgomery playlist. And under no uncertain terms did we not skip over the DCYF, how the systems broke, how Governor Sununu or whatever the hell his name is, he just sidestepped it, and he actually made statements of, our system's not broken. As a matter of fact, we fixed it. He went on and doubled down on his statements and said that he felt that there was nothing wrong with his system in the state of New Hampshire. And we remember we had both governors from Massachusetts and New Hampshire pointing the fingers at each other. We have to say to ourselves as human beings, it starts with the people who created Harmony Montgomery. The two people who got together and had this child, the onus is on them, first and foremost. But then once the onus gets lifted off them and their parental rights get taken away, now we rely on the state. And that's not a foolproof method. It's not really the time and place to go into this in detail, but that's my pecking order of going, and putting blame, if you will, for this child's demise, because she couldn't fend for herself. She was at the mercy of whoever was in control of her fate. And that was the courts in Massachusetts and DCYF in New Hampshire. And there's no skating around that. I don't know if you feel any differently about that, Ed, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, there has to be accountability here. You have to go back to the original judge's decision that put this poor child in the custody of these monsters. And I'm sorry if you don't like the word monsters, but that's what anybody that kills an innocent child like this is, a monster. Okay. 100%. In my opinion, this may sound harsh. They're innocent until proven guilty, but if they are proven guilty, they forfeited their life.
I agree 100% on that. These people don't deserve to breathe the same air that we breathe, and anybody that would harm a little 7-8-year-old child like this is just sickening to the highest degree. So I agree wholeheartedly with that. I know the audience here, folks, let us know how you feel in the chat. You can also leave us comments down below in the comment section. But as the Attorney General and the police chief said, our work is not done. There is so much more work to be done, because they have to bring a perpetrator, or they said perpetrators, to and get them in custody and bring them to justice. Charges have to come forward. Now that we know they have this is a homicide investigation, we now will look to the second part of this, and the wheels of justice are turning. They're keeping it going. And he made a lot of acknowledgments to all the detectives and the agents that have been working hard on this case night and day. It's an emotional roller coaster for all of them, but they have one focus, and their focus is bringing justice for little Harmony Montgomery, because she's no longer here to talk or to say anything. So they are taxed with that, and I know that they're focused on that night and day, and that'll be probably the next piece of this next news conference or whatever we might hear.
Yesterday we had Mike on the program, and he talked about, like, we all have at least 3 cases that haunt us to this day, and all 3 of my cases, well, there's far more than 3, but all of them involve children. Okay, and nothing can be purer and more innocent than a child, and they have done nothing in this world that could warrant their death at these ages. It's just incomprehensible to me that people could do this, and they have to be held responsible. And I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. It just kills me to see that these little children who are so innocent, made in the image of God, like we all are, had their life snuffed out before they could experience anything. And who knows what that child could have done later in life? Could have cured cancer, could have done miraculous things, but we'll never know now, because that child's life was snuffed out by an animal.
Right. And we look at so many of these cases where it involves children from all walks of life and all over the globe. This is not just happening in the United States, it's happening all across the world. But when we look at all these cases, that's the common denominator, is evil is involved in snuffing out the lives of these beautiful, innocent children. And it's just these cases, and it's one of the things that I always had a problem with going to the medical examiner's office to do an identification process that involved the child. It was one of the toughest things that all of us had to do in law enforcement. And you, Ed, you saw this on a regular basis. Your day-to-day in crime scene, I don't know how you did it, but here you are still.
I've had cases, babies in closets in Tupperware, dead for months. I've had cases where the baby's mother's boyfriend punched the kid in the gut, and because he spilt milk, and he severed his aorta, and he bled to death internally over the course of 3 days without them seeking any medical help. I have things that that just haunt me, that somebody can do this to an innocent child and go to sleep and put their head down on a pillow at night and not be concerned one bit for what they did.
Yeah, and these people, these monsters, these faces of evil are walking amongst us in society. You may be at the grocery store, you may be out and about, and this could be going on behind the scenes. And that's the scary part, is that so much of this is going on right now as we speak. There are so many Harmony Montgomerys, Little, Sincere, and Classic, Orrin and Orson West, the Summer Wells. We could just go on and on. Michael Vaughn. The list is it's just too long to even go into here. But the bottom line is we're talking about Harmony Montgomery. This is a small step forward in the right direction. And it goes to show you, for the ladies and gentlemen here in the United States that have had doubts of law enforcement and what their mission statement is, this is proof right here that they won't give up. And you heard the chief say, we won't stop until we get a perpetrator or perpetrators in custody. So it just reinsures me, and it reinstills my faith in the brotherhood and the sisterhood of law enforcement. And I know that this is what everyone's doing. Susan King, thank you for the $20 super chat. She says, my heart is breaking. This poor child lived with torment, and we don't even know the half of it. But yes, thank you for that statement. Let me just look to the chat quick. Ed, go ahead.
I saw a question about what kind of biological material could it be. Now, without a body, it could be a large amount of blood, for a child, and then the DNA came back to the child from the blood that, such a large amount, then they could say, okay, with this amount of blood, there definitely is going to be a homicide here, given her size, age, and weight, and so forth. Next, it could be an organ. If they found an organ, okay, well, how did that organ get there? How did that tissue get there? And again, match back to Harmony via DNA. It may be horrific for people to think like this, but
yeah.
So now that they have this, and you see the plea that the chief made, to come forward now, because there are people who know. Besides the suspects, because people like this can't keep their mouth shut, and they told other people, or other people assisted them.
Adam and Kayla Montgomery are known drug addicts. They're transients living out of their car. He was stopped on 31st when the whole wheels of justice started rolling on Harmony. He was living out of his car with this Kayla Montgomery. These two drug addicts, and I can call them that. We're out on the street talking to people, and people out there know. So we're just waiting for someone to come forward with any additional. But Ed, I wanted to ask you quickly, the refrigerator removal. You and I talked about it live when they were doing it. We speculated, we spoke about. This is going to be a sticking point on social media. People are going to be talking about this all over the place. Do you think the biological possible recoveries were inside? How could that be? How could that refrigerator be in there for 2 years?
Well, it depends on who you listen to, because it was reported by the landlord that the refrigerator between the time Harmony's parents and Harmony lived there and the subsequent tenants had been changed. So if that is not accurate and they found the biological materials in the refrigerator, well, there's no legitimate reason to have biological materials in the refrigerator, okay, for Harmony. Okay, so again, it's what kind of evidence do you have, and where was that evidence located, and the connection of the two. I got a huge amount of blood in a refrigerator for Harmony that matches Harmony. Well, there's no legitimate reason to have a large amount of blood in a refrigerator. Okay, so therefore,
right.
homicide.
And then And then we also saw, parts of carpeting, sheetrock,
Sheetrock, right?
uh,
The bathroom.
right. So this crime scene, as you know, as a crime scene and detective and investigator, could have been vast. It could have been in multiple rooms. We could be talking about, they were in that location for arguably what, 24, almost close to 36 hours they were inside that location. So the work that they were doing was quite a bit, and they were underneath the property. Remember, there was that crawl space underneath. So they've covered every square inch, every space of that location. Like you said, photographing, drawing diagrams, that was done top notch. It
Yeah,
didn't
and
look like they were really sparing anything.
looks like they were also excavating materials from underneath the building.
Right, right. And you and I homed in on that. Well, I'm going to link that. I'm going to link that live stream down below in the comment section. So underneath my main comment that I pinned, I'm gonna link the comment, the live stream that Ed and I covered, because I thought that one was one of the best ones that we did, because you were right on every inch of that, of what was going on. We were doing basically a play-by-play of everything that was happening there. Let me get to some of the people in the chat, and I think we had a couple of super chats. Iris Hewlett says, disturbing findings. How can anyone harm a child? That's what we're saying here. It takes a sick kind of person to do something like that.
Evil lives amongst us.
Absolutely. And I said it just before, a few minutes ago. They walk amongst us. That's why your eyes have to be wide open, your peripheral vision. You always got to be aware of your surroundings. Don't bury your head in the phone. Look at what happened to beautiful Naomi over in Fernley, Nevada. Naomi Iron. She had her head buried in her phone, and the rest is history. Super chat from Schmitty. She says, Ed, you have a way with words. You make me cry. It makes me cry. DutyRon and Ed, you bring empathy and compassion to all you represented. Hearts of gold. Thank you. Wow, that was a really nice comment, Schmitty. I didn't think Schmitty had that in her, because she was telling me before we went live, geez, I got to wait 15 minutes for you guys to go live. That's my German temperament. I'm not waiting. So I told her she's just like my wife, not patient. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Schmitty. That's awesome. Jamie Bailey sends in a super sticker. She sends in a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. Look at this comment. Lisa Stewart says, I hope that scumbag Adam gets his in prison. Even the most hardened criminals hate child killers. Get him, Bubba. I'm going to talk to Anthony Ganji about this one, because Anthony Ganji from Tier Talk, he knows all about prison life. I mean, he's an executive in the prison system in New Jersey. I think we'll have him come on, Ed, and we'll do some talking about him. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because nobody's charged yet. So,
well, the walls are closing in on these people, and they have to know this by now. Okay. Now I know, there's criminal history here amongst these people, and they've been in the system before, so they know, what to expect if they're going back in. And they also should know, if they come clean now, it'll be beneficial to them to come clean now than to have someone else come forward and say, hey, this is what this person did, this is where the body is, and this is where you can find it. And then take them to trial and convict them. Okay. And then, so is there a death penalty in New Hampshire? No. So he'll get life in prison.
State. The Dems control New Hampshire. There's no death penalty there.
So life in prison.
Right. The crazy part about this is that he is already lawyered up. I'm sure of it. He's a career criminal. He knows his rights and knows what to do. But with the amount of evidence, I'm hoping that they have a substantial amount of evidence. It makes things a little bit easier for them to come at him and do some hard questioning through his attorney. So just because someone retains an attorney and says, I plead the fifth, doesn't mean that the police still can't communicate with the attorney. Annie T, thank you for the $20 super chat. And she says, much respect, Ron and Ed. Well, we thank you and we appreciate you. Thank you for that. Ed, did somebody else send in a super chat? Oh, Mary Ribley. I can't see the wording. She sends in a $10 super sticker, I believe. Nothing. Thank you, Ed. Let's see. Anybody else? Has the adoptive dad, Mary says, has the adoptive dad, where did it go?
Has the adoptive dad of the brother said anything? And has Kayla been picked up
For further questioning.
due to further questioning?
Yeah, we don't know because they're not. That's we don't have access to the case file. I know Kayla, I believe, is either doing a rehab stint or is out. So I think that they will definitely look to pit her against him because we know that she knows probably everything that he knows. I would have to guess, as a gambling man, I would say to you that Kayla Montgomery knows what happened to Harmony. There's no question about it. And there may be a pool of other people that know. So this thing is going to take some time. And the good news is that Adam, the main suspect, in my eyes and in Ed's eyes, is in custody, and that gives the good guys an advantage because we're not scrambling around to worry if this guy's going to try to get out of the country.
We're not trying to chase him down.
Correct. So it gives the advantage to the good guys. So that is some of the good news here. I think that we will see eventually, and you heard it, you were going to hear me say this many a time, and I did say it in the past. I think we will see Adam Montgomery charged with now the murder of Harmony Montgomery.
Is he in Gen Pop?
I believe so. Yeah. But they may be taking him out now based on this because he definitely would be a target. I would hate to see him get killed in prison because I want to actually hear him, and I don't even know if we'll get the truth out of this scumbag, but I'd like to see or hear more about, obviously what he has to say or what Kayla has to say. I feel that Kayla is going to be the key to prosecution here because she's going to fold under pressure, hopefully.
Well, I feel they're both guilty, but she has the best play here against him to save her own butt, and it's taken a while.
He hasn't been named as a suspect, but I'm going to tell you this right now: that whole person of interest and suspect that goes out the window when you have all of this evidence that's the surmounting pile of evidence that they've recovered on that day. I believe is going to seal the fate for him, and I'm hoping that some of his DNA is mixed inside of some of that stuff that they recovered, some of the genetic stuff that they recovered from that last spot. And
well,
if
it is, then that should be enough to make an arrest.
Right, but I don't think that they would just jump at it because they actually resided in that apartment. So, can you talk a little bit about that? How sticky that gets when there's a crime committed?
when you live inside a shared apartment with your family, and so fingerprints and DNA mixtures are going to be found because of your day-to-day life in the same household. So items can be touched by multiple family members, and including, in some cases, murder weapons, whether it be hammer, knife, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So it's not uncommon to find that. But now if you find that, you have to associate it in connection with the cause and manner of death. And
right.
And so you make these linkage connections, and then you say, okay, her blood, his fingerprints. Well, I can't tell you the time that those fingerprints were deposited there, or his DNA was deposited there, or there's mixtures of DNA. So there's really no way to tell time frame when all that occurred. Okay.
Right.
So that's why there are other parts of the investigation that has to corroborate these things, witnesses, CCTV camera, video footage, whatever the case may be. And if you don't have that, excuse me,
right.
If you don't have that, then it's going to make the case that much harder.
Right, and the camera footage, Ed, and I don't mean to cut you off because when you talk to you're really giving a great synopsis of this stuff. But camera footage in real life, realistically, it's 2 years in the past. They're not going to probably have a great deal of that. But that being said, forensics and things of that nature are pretty solid nowadays. So we hope and pray that they have everything that they need to get this thing going. And Trevor Lee just jumped in with a super chat. Trev says, keep him protected till he has to stand trial for this horrid crime. he's such a subhuman, evil person. She deserves justice. Amen to that, Trevor. And thank you for always jumping in and supporting Trevor Lee from down in East Tennessee.
All right, Ron.
Ed, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Ed, thank you so much for jumping on quickly here to give a forensics side. It's so valuable to our viewers. I can't say enough good about everything that you do, Ed, and I hope everyone enjoyed our live interactive live stream with Mike King from Profiling Evil last night. We had a great conversation. Candace Cooley joined us. I didn't even know that was going to happen. That just came out of nowhere. But Ed, thank you. We will keep a close eye on Harmony Montgomery. I might do a follow-up to this on Friday night. Ed's busy getting ready to go out of the country again. Damn you, Ed. Damn you.
What you gotta do? I got, you know, there's other places I have to go to, you know, to do what I do and make our lives back here a little safer.
Absolutely. Amen to that work. And you're a brave. I mean, listen, going out in your retired life and traveling outside the country takes a special brave kind of guy to do that. So kudos to you, Ed. I want you to be safe, and everybody wants you to get back in one piece and without any kind of coughing like what you have going on right now. I know you brought that back
just
from Africa.
No, it's post-nasal drip. It's just, you know.
All right. Well, if you
honest to God, honest to God, that's what it is. You know.
I got you.
So.
All right. Well, we love you, Ed. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Guys and girls, let's keep praying for Harmony Montgomery, for the justice to be served for Harmony Montgomery. You know, people said in the chat quickly, and I want to just address this, Ed. They're asking, will the biological mother be charged? She had no child or parental rights to her daughter. So at the time of all of this, when this was all going on, no, the answer to that is no. She's not going to be charged with anything unless she had something to do with what happened to Harmony Montgomery. And I, like Mike said last night, there's so many possibilities and so many scenarios that we could come up with in all of these cases. But is it probable? I think it's not probable that she had anything to do with her daughter's demise. I think the demise responsibility lies within Adam and Kayla. If not them, maybe even more people.
Look,
but we'll see.
She was continuing to collect welfare, food stamps, and everything associated with the child care for her, even though she was gone for all
that was time. Kayla. That was the stepmom.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the biological.
Right. I'm sort of saying that's why the biological mom is not involved in this. Okay. Right. Because, you know, Kayla, she knows what's happening. Okay. She knows all the dirty details. Okay. Yeah. The mother didn't know.
Yeah. And we heard from Kayla's mother too. And she said that Adam was evil, in her words. He was evil. So, you know, again, all the coverage is going to be linked down below. Ed's got to run. He's got a conference call. So as I like to always end these, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all the victims of crime across the globe. We send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Make sure you subscribe and like to this community. And Ed, I know you have something to say right before we go.
Stay safe. Stay prepared. Watch your six.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you all soon. Peace and love from DutyRon and Ed.